What's up guys, I'm Stavis, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at an alipbata's arrangement of Seal's song Kiss from a Rose. I've done a previous reaction video to this and if you'd be interested in checking that out, I'm going to link to that just here. But as you can tell from today's video title, this is a full transcription and technical breakdown. So what I'm going to do is, like the videos before, have the tabs synced and scrolling along the bottom of the screen. I'm going to go through some of the different elements and the different parts and licks, demonstrate how to play them and the different techniques you're going to need to execute them. The full transcription tab will be available to download for free in the description box down below, and we'll discuss some of the theory points as well. So one of the first things we need to discuss is the tuning. So it's not a standard tuning. He takes the 6th string, the low E, he downtunes that by a semitone to E flat. He downtunes the 5th string, the A string, a tone to G, and he downtunes the high E, the 1st string, from a tone from E to D. So when you play strings 5 through 1, you get an open G chord. This becomes really important because the 3 chords in the song are G major, E flat major, and F major. So the fact that he's downtuned the 6th string to E flat allows him to play, when he gets the E flat chord, that as an open string. And because the middle strings, so strings 4, 3 and 2, are all standard tuning, he can maintain the standard chord shapes that we all know, the different voicings that we all know from those strings. Okay, so let's get into the song. Okay, so right there in bar 14 is the first thing we're going to look at and break down. So let's get into that.
The lick in bar 14, you start with your index finger on the 7th fret of the 2nd string, and either your ring finger or your baby finger on the 9th fret of the 1st string. And what we're going to do is we're going to pre-bend this 7th fret up a semitone. So these are the pitches we end up hearing, but we use a bend to get them. So you pre-bend the note up and release. But he plays those 2 strings together. So you're going to have to practice your pitching on your pre-bend so you don't bend too much or too little, so it's flat. So you need to practice on getting that right and then bringing it all together.
So right there in bar 19 we can see 2 of the techniques that I've described in other videos in relation to the transcriptions I've done of Sweet Child of Mine and Numb. Now in comparison to those transcriptions, this arrangement is actually more accessible. He doesn't use as much two-handed technique, so he's not doing bass with one hand and melody with the other hand. He doesn't use a lot of harp harmonics, and he doesn't do a lot of bending behind the notes, so there's only a few instances of it throughout the song, so it's a much more accessible and easy arrangement to tackle. Okay, so let's look at that little technique there.
In bar 19 he uses 2 techniques, one of which I discussed in detail in my breakdown of his arrangement of Numb, and the other is just something I touched upon in my reaction video to this arrangement. So we'll start with the first thing, and that is bending behind the note. So like we had in bar 14 where we pre-bend the note and release, okay, doing the same thing but on the open string. And in order to do that, we pull the string behind the note. So we're going to end up going from a C to a B, but you don't play first, you bend first, then play, and release. So you can practice that, getting the pitch correct, okay? And that's what we're looking to do. But he's not picking an open string, he's using a harp harmonic on the 12th fret, so you touch the harmonic on the 12th fret wire, right above the fret wire, and pick behind it with your thumb. And then he brings those 2 techniques together. So pre-bend behind the note, pick the harmonic, release.
So right there in bar 25 we have another one of these harp harmonics, which we just demonstrated before. This one now incorporates a hammer on from nowhere and a pull off and another picking motion. So let's look at that in isolation.
In bar 23, he uses the same technique, the harp harmonic, and he's going to use a hammer on from nowhere. So it's going to be like this, 12th fret of the G string harp harmonic. So we're going to fret with our index finger, gently touch, pick behind it with your thumb. You get your G note. He's going to hammer on the 7th fret of the 2nd string with his index finger. And he's going to pull off that note, and at the same time he's going to play the open A string, which is a G note. Okay, so one of the things you're going to run into difficulty here with is the dynamics and the intensity of each of the notes and making sure they're all the same volume, because that note is going to ring louder than that note unless you hit it really hard, and then your pull off might be too strong for that note, or that note might be too strong for the pull off. So you have to really work on it to get to not only get them all coordinated at the same time, but to have them at the same dynamic range.
And right there, if you remember from my original reaction video, that pre-bend was something I really vibed with. So we'll have another little small look at that.
In bar 31, in the lead up to the chorus, we have another semitone bend. This time it's on the 7th fret of the 1st string. So we're going to bend from the 7 to the 8. And then when you get to the top of the bend, you let go of the string. You don't let the note come back down. So what he does is he plays an open 5th string, slides the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and then down to the 3rd fret of the 2nd string.
Without stopping and starting this video too many times, something that I found the most difficult to do in this song was to tap the body and pick notes at the same time. It's like two different motions that your right hand has to do, and I found that probably the most challenging thing. This is me doing it in slow motion and explaining how I went and approached it.
Bar 33 has the first instance of where he's tapping the body with the nail on his baby finger. And I definitely found this the most difficult thing to do, because he's playing an open 5th string and then a 3rd fret 2nd string, 3rd fret 1st string. And I found it really hard to coordinate because one part of my hand is coming up off the strings while the other has to go down. So it is something that's going to take a little bit of work for you to get to sound right. I tend to use a kind of a wrist rotation, so I end up doing this motion. That's not what Alip does. Alip seems to have control of his baby finger to the point where he can just put that down as he wants and when he needs it. So I had to resort to doing a wrist rotation motion. So best of luck figuring that out, which works best for you.
Now, as you can see in bar 47 there, we approach our first natural harmonics in the song. Now, I don't want to go too in depth into harmonics and what they are and how they're created. I have a section of the video I've done for his arrangement of Num, which goes into that in crazy amount of detail, and that'll be linked just here. But this is the simplest and shortest explanation I can give them.
Like I said, I'm not going to go into crazy detail about what harmonics are and how to do them. The only ones we need in the song, because there's not a hell of a lot of them in this song, are the ones above the 12th fret and the ones above the 5th fret. So to get a harmonic, you play directly above the fret wire, not the fret number, the fret wire itself. And pluck the string. And ordinarily you remove your finger so you have giving it the opportunity to ring out. Because if you leave your finger there, it tends to kill the note. It doesn't have as much sustain, and a lot of the time you play harmonics, you want the sustain. And let them ring out.
There again, he has that small bend while holding a higher note, except this time the higher note is pulled off to the lower note, so you go from a 9 to a 0 on the first string. So it's ever so slightly different from the first one, where he actually picks those two notes individually. So it's just something to be mindful of when you're looking through this transcription for yourself. And there is one of my favourite licks in the song, and this is how that is done.
In bar 65, it's the first of the bluesy licks we come across in this song. So we're going to start with our index finger on the first fret of the second string, and either our ring finger or our baby finger on the third fret of the first string. We're going to play those two notes together, and then we're going to slide them both up 2 frets. So it's a quick slide. We're going to pull off from the 5th fret to the 3rd fret of the top string. Then we're going to jump to the G string. We're going to play the 5th fret with our ring finger, slide up to the 6th, down to the 5th, pull off to the 3rd, hammer onto the 5. Okay. But you'll notice from the song and the transcription that the rhythm is different, so those slides happen quite quick.
Okay, so when he comes back to this section of the song, it's a slight variation on what he played for the intro and then the first break after the first chorus. And this is how that is done. Before we get into the bridge section or the mid section, something that you may have noticed throughout the whole thing that's going to help you when you're learning it is that the structure of the bass and how that moves through the whole piece is fairly similar right the way through. It goes from G for 2 bars, then E flat for 1 bar, and then F for 1 bar. So it's like G 2 3, G 2 3, E flat 2 3, F 2 3. So once you have that basic framework, it's very easy to kind of slot the different things on top of it. And that's how I transcribe it initially. I write out the whole piece as the bass on one voice, and then I go back and do the melody all again on the upper voice. So it means I have the structure of the song to work with. And I suggest if you're learning it to approach it the same way. Look at the bass, and once you have that down, you can slot the melody on top of it very easily. I say very easily, it's still quite difficult, but easier, alright? This next break, interlude, whatever you want to call it, is a slight variant on the second one. So same kind of structure, some notes have changed in between. So we'll have a look at that.
Last break, I'm just going to focus on the fingering used, because if you use the wrong fingers, it can make this more difficult than it needs to be. So I use my middle finger for the slide from the 5 to the 7. Index middle, baby finger for the pull off. Then use your ring finger for the 10th fret of the 5th string, first finger for the 7th fret of the 1st string, and middle finger for the 8th fret of the 2nd string. So you end up with this chord shape. Then your baby finger for the 10th fret of the G string, that slides from 10 to 12. And that stays there for the next chord. You've got an open 5th string, a 9, and a 12. And it's the same fingering when it comes around again. So it's a little bit different than the first time around. To play that 10th fret on the G string with your baby finger. And slide out.
Well, there you have it. I hope you found this video enjoyable. If you have, please hit that like button, and if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss out on future content. Like I said at the beginning of the video, the full transcription is available for free download as a PDF from the description box down below, so go check that out. Best of luck learning it for yourself. Thank you for watching. My name's Davis, and I'll see you on the next one.